Hey, it's Nikki, and this is why you should be offering value to your customer facing employees. The customer facing employee is often at the bottom of the priority list for both small and large companies, in my experience. They're the ones you hire, you train, and then you send off, right? To take care of the day to day so that you can spend your time strategizing more long term and large scale. However, let's keep in mind that the customer facing employee is often the only one that your customer interacts with, and that makes them automatically the representation of your entire brand. So, shouldn't that then make the customer facing employee the most important? I'm proposing that by focusing on giving value to these employees, you can increase performance results, innovation, customer satisfaction, customer retention, and not to mention decrease costly employee turnover. And this fits into the larger theory of the triple bottom line framework um, that determines business's long term success, right? The three P's: profit, people, planet, which is a whole nother topic. But for this article, I'm going to expand upon why you should be offering value to your customer facing employees and offer 3 steps to help determine what that value is. So, why do you need to offer value to your customer facing employees, right? At the bare minimum, if you think about it, your customer facing employees are the only ones who actually know what's going on, right? They see how the customer reacts in real time, what the product really looks like on the ground, what the realities are in real life compared to what is advertised online. Very often, new business elements are implemented, like tech or procedures or product, without any input from the people who will be most affected or who have the most insight into potential success. For example, let's say a business is trying to figure out how to get more people to attend happy hour, right? Or how to boost the customer experience. And they decide they're going to hire a pianist to play in a hotel lobby during happy hour. Amazing idea on paper. But if you ask the concierge, maybe that person who every day works in the hotel lobby can point out that there are far more people physically in the lobby during the morning. People checking in, checking out, heading to breakfast, and that very few are around during the happy hour because that's when they're out and about doing things in the city. For example, not to mention being a customer facing employee is hard. um, it's a lot of physical work, often a lot of energy, a lot is out of your control. You often have no input on your goals and measures. However, the results of those goals and measures are fully 100% on you. And honestly, you might not really remember what it was like to be a customer facing employee if you haven't done it in a while. During the 5 years I spent as guide success manager overseeing 160 plus teams of local freelance tour guides, I maintained my New York City tour guide license. And I hopped on tours whenever I got the opportunity to give them for all different companies. I did this because it kept me grounded, right? It reminded me what it's like on the ground. It lets me test out the techniques that I was teaching, right? To make sure they're actually usable and practical. It allowed me to experience firsthand what it's like to report to a remote manager as a guide. And it also just reminded me how incredibly demanding being a tour guide is. My 9 to 5 was a piece of cake compared to a 3 hour walking tour, believe me. So 3 steps to determine what is actually valuable to your employees, right? Step 1, list out all possible ways you currently offer value. And we're talking beyond the often mentioned ping pong table in the office, right? Giving value is not about a cool work environment or working from home. It spans an incredible amount of areas, many of which you might already be doing, but just haven't acknowledged. So just a few off the top of my head, and I've divided it into 3 categories: stability and comfort, work environment, and career development, just to help you kind of kickstart the process. Keep in mind, there are like millions of ways you can offer value, and some might conflict, right? So not all companies can offer all value. Let's say under stability and comfort, no homework outside of working hours, right? People work 9 to 5, go home. No one gives you a look at 5 o'clock if you get up from your computer. Steady paycheck. That's a value for people, especially someone who comes from a freelance background. Good pay, obviously, right? Higher salary, that's pretty valuable. Clear expectations and milestones of achievement, right? That could be something that's very valuable to someone. Work environment, under this category. A community, right? Having a community of colleagues, of peers. Having a structured or stress-free or productive environment, right? Being able to come into an office where they can get a lot done. Praise, that's very valuable to some people. Flexible work from home policies, more obvious one. Flexible pay time off policies. These are things not all companies offer. And under career development, the ability for career progression doesn't always exist, especially for customer-facing employees in a lot of different industries. Training and education opportunities, a sense of purpose, right? Going into work every day. Networking opportunities. The list goes on and on. So step 2, once you've brainstormed this list, bring it to employees and ask what is actually valuable, right? Because keep in mind, what you find valuable might not be so valuable in reality or to employees. It's going to be different for every employee. This only works if it's a two-way conversation. Bonus, how empowering is it for employees to be involved in this process? Right? Nothing shows upper management cares more than asking the opinions of those customer-facing employees. So make sure to ask everyone, all departments, all different groups, shy, introverted employees, extroverted employees, just to be aware of any majority culture bias to avoid excluding any minority employees who might value something that not a lot of other people value, right? Just make sure everyone is getting something of value. Step 3, final step, define and expand upon that value, right? Show that you mean it. Once everyone has participated in shaping the values that you offer employees, it could be as simple as a list internally. Advertise it, right? It's brand marketing internally at its finest. This adds value to the value, right? So you can get credit for something that might be taken for granted. Like, let's say all your employees, everyone does work from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock and everyone leaves. Remind them that not all companies do that, right? And say, this is something we prioritize as a company because we respect your time, right? Put a name on it. And furthermore, expand upon values where you can. Let's say you discover that having a community is something that's very valuable to people at your company, or it's a value they find through your company. Do some research. Where does that community already exist? Is it organic? Maybe employees just happen to start having lunch together, or maybe it's something through a company-created program, right? Like an employee resource group or something else that you organize. How can you add on to this? How can you expand it or get more people involved or make it even more valuable, right? The idea is that this should take some effort. It doesn't have to take resources or money, but it should take effort. And it shows your employees that you're willing to put in effort, which will then in turn make them put in more effort as well.